Hello everybody, Keith here again. I realised I haven't actually done my end of the month in flower review video for January yet, and it's now the 3rd of February. I have been ridiculously busy over the last week or so, and I just haven't had time to do it. And when I have had time to do it, being the time of year it is, it's been dark. So I want to do a very quick one. I want to hope that things go fairly well. I'm not going to worry about white balance. It's on auto white balance. I don't want to muck about too much with it today. I'm just going to try and get it done as quickly as possible. Right, let's start with this big lady. She's nearly over. The flowers are starting to look quite ratty. This is a no ID Cymbidium, one that I bought for a very small amount of money from Home Base about this time last year. Some Christmas stock that I got left over. It's the one that's done best. I bought 3 last year, 2 from Home Base and 1 from a local garden centre. Unfortunately, this one and the one from the garden centre have both ended up with being the same hybrid, both no IDs, but it's doing okay. We've got some new growth, we've got that flower spike, and it's doing okay, although it's nearly over for another year. I had another one that was in flower, so the same one was in flower this year, but that's already gone, but it was exactly the same. We are down this month on plants in flower. The Spring Dream, as you can see on the bark there, is starting to drop its flowers. This has been in flower for a long time now, very long time now, so it's not surprising. I think it's starting to get a little bit tired, so last time I did a watering, I gave it some growth rather than flower feed, because we've got a nice new growth here that's been pushing on. It's already half the height of last year's cane and not far off half the height of this year's cane. So this is a plant that's doing okay for me, I think. Now, I don't know how well I can get this one. This is one that I bought from a friend who's got a market store, and he got some orchids, and I got this in June 2018. This is Miltonidium Bartley Schwartz Highland, and it's highly fragrant. If you close the door of a room and then open it up when you come down in the morning, this thing is lovely. And it's a really nice floral, sort of rosy type of scent. It's very, very pretty, very sweet, and it seems to like my conditions. It's grown quite well. We've got another new growth over here, so that's another one that's doing all right for me. The twinkles have gone, but they're putting new growths up. Now, this is what I've just bought. It's a Kingianum type. The guy I bought it from said that it's a Kingianum hybrid. One of our dendrobium experts at the East Midlands Orchid Society thinks it may be a colour form of Kingianum, but if it is, it's not a big one either. A lot of Kingianums are considerably bigger than this one. But whatever it is, and it's kind of no ID, it's a no ID, but it's the same old tale. The guy said, I used to know what this was, but I lost the tag. But I hope you'll agree with me that that is an exceptionally pretty looking little flower. Really pretty. Nothing to do with me, it was in flower when I got it. But I'm really hoping that I'll manage to keep that going. My Dendrobium nobile that I got from Burnham's in November, which turned out not to be what they were labelled as, and both the same, unfortunately. They've flowered and gone. This is one of my two Lady Colemans. This is a very old hybrid, 1909 if I remember correctly, registered hybrid, primary hybrid. Looks a lot like Dendrobium nobile, but the flowers are bigger, I think, but altogether quite a nice plant. This one flowered for me this time last year, almost exactly 12 months ago, and then it stalled. It did absolutely nothing for months on end before it put this next cane up. And it's the same height as the others, so under most circumstances you'd say that was fine. But if we've seen in other videos of mine, I've got another one which didn't flower, it hasn't flowered this year, and its canes are huge. So there are no more flowers on that rack. I've got several spring dream cakeys that are in flower. Now these are interesting. This is much more like what I got when I first bought it, which is pure white, whereas the actual mother plant for these, this year at least, has had and retained purple. They've often flowered with purple to begin with, then it's faded. This time it didn't. This is the only one that's in Burnham seedling compost and in a clay pot as opposed to a plastic pot, and there's something not quite right because that cane is shrinking, so it's obviously not getting enough water. I'm going to have to do more with that because, as I say, I've been extremely busy and I've not, unfortunately, been properly keeping on top of what's happening. So that's that one. We've got another one that's in flower, one that's about to flower. Otherwise, no flowers, particularly on the orchids in here. So let me turn it off and go and fetch some more. So here we have, as I've said before, I'm sure, probably one of my favourite flowers. This is a Dendrobium phalaenopsis type from the Sarnock stable. This is Thailand Black. It's one of the darkest orchid flowers you're likely to get until you get into some of the catasetums. I find it extremely difficult to photograph and get a good image. To be fair, this isn't showing it too bad. The daylight I think is helping, but the trumpet is extremely dark and it's almost like it absorbs the light. It's quite an amazing looking thing. It seems to have grown very well for me. There's lots of roots in the pot. Grew a good cane last year, so I'm hoping we'll get another one this year. And here's another one, been in flower for a little while now. Perhaps not the greatest spike in the world, but this is another Sarnock product. This is Polar Fire. And I saw a Polar Fire, I think it was 2 meetings ago, the December meeting of the East Midlands Orchid Society, and it was a very big plant, obviously far, far older than mine, a really big plant, with a number of canes in flower at the same time, and that really was something to behold. Again, we've got a nice cane this year, nothing happening yet, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. Some good things come in small packages. This is the little Phalaenopsis that I bought in Salisbury last March when we were down south for the Bournemouth Orchid Society's anniversary show, and I bought it for the jar to put a Vanda in, and this really was there, and I chose what I thought was a nice colour. I didn't really think any more about it, but this is doing very well. It's flowered again. I think that's a very pretty little flower, but if you look at the size of the leaves, this was one of the original leaves. This leaf is far bigger. I've heard it said sometimes some of the sort of growers put dwarfing hormones or what have you onto them for sale, but certainly this one is putting out loads of roots. They're all down in the pot right the way to the bottom, and indeed right through the bottom. So this is a plant which is very, very happy, quite clearly. Another fowl that I really like and have liked for a long time, and this is Mini Mark. This is the second spike, well, in fact no, it's the third spike it's put out in the last 12 months. The first one didn't last very long. The second one was progressive, very unusual. It's like this one and the others it's produced, flowers more or less all at once. And the other one was a very long spike, and he put one or two out and then dropped those and opened some more and so on. And in the end, when it finished flowering, the spike started to go back very quickly, so I cropped it right off back at the plant. I don't know how well this is doing. The leaves it's got are not as big as the leaves it's had by quite a chunk, so I need to try and work out why that is. It's got plenty of roots, so I think it's time once it's finished flowering, I'll have it out of the pot. It's in a Cymbidium pot at the moment because it had a lot of very long roots when I looked at it before. So I don't know, I'm going to possibly trim some of those roots off and put it in something a bit smaller, because obviously being black as well, I've no idea what's happening down in the bottom. And if there's one thing I've learnt recently, it's that you don't want, whatever the medium is, the last thing you want is stuff down in the bottom not draining away properly. So even if it's open, that if you haven't got roots down there that are taking it out and it's staying wet, then you're in trouble. So next lot. A little Phalaenopsis, really quite a small plant altogether, not almost what you could almost definitely call a miniature phal. I actually love this one. It's very sweet little flower. Very pleased with that. Haven't seen it in flower for a bit. Something not quite right with it yet. I've had one go at repotting it, but the stem is kind of here and it's not looking very wonderful, so I think it may have to come out and be repositioned, but I'll probably wait until it's finished flowering before I do that. I don't think there's any enormous rush. There are enough roots to give it some moisture, so that I think will be alright for the time being, but it is very nice to have it around again. One that puzzles me a wee bit, this is one that I bought as Leodoro at Chatsworth in May last year. It's beginning to go over. These flowers have been out for a very long time. It's an odd plant, seems to be doing alright, nice big leaves, lots of roots, lots of spikes, but the spikes aren't actually progressing, so whether anything will happen once that spike's done. Although when you look at it here, a bit better. Yeah, look, start looking at that. There's something at the front of that ought to mean more buds. But again, it's not really showing any great signs of doing much. We've got roots, there's roots going down into the pot, but it's another one that I put into a tall pot. It had a lot of long roots when I repotted it last time. So perhaps that was a mistake, we'll find out, but at least it's flowered and it's not doing too badly. I've got a couple of plants which are on the way. A little no idea I haven't seen for a long time. Hasn't done a fat lot for ages, but it is putting roots out and it's flowering, so it's hopefully turned a bit of a corner. Whether it's a bit over potted, I honestly don't know now. It may be that it is and it needs bringing down a bit, but again, I'm not going to do anything with that until it's finished flowering. Maybe a few months, but I think when it's a bit warmer and a bit brighter might be the best time to have a good play with that. Where are we? The last fowl, and it needs no introduction. This is Phalaenopsis Pink Twilight, which seems to have been in flower forever. Both spikes are now fully open. The original spike, this one, the long one, has lost a couple of flowers, but the ones that are left are still good. This is a branch off the previous spike. Flowers aren't as big, but they're still nice. It's losing a leaf, but it's only one leaf. There's masses of roots. It's the oldest leaf on the plant, and it's one that was there when I got it. And I've had this plant for nearly 18 months. So I really don't think that of itself is a problem. It's just an old leaf that's on its last legs. Another one that I hope we're going to be able to see, and I'm not altogether sure that we will unless I do that. That's better. This is a Rhinanthera hybrid. Flowered for me for the first time, or it's flowering for me for the first time. It was in flower when I bought it. It's putting a leaf up as well. So I'm a little bit puzzled by it. I don't really know what I'm doing with it. Again, it possibly needs repotting when I've got a bit more of an idea what it's doing. But we'll let that flower and see how it's going. I'm not greatly enamoured with the flowers, but we'll see. And then the last group of plants that are in flower or coming into flower are my Paphs. I'll show you the last couple in a minute, but this one is almost out, and this is one I'm really looking forward to seeing. This is Paphiopedilum Lordy. This is the standard form of Dolanatii. I've well, I bought this last year. It's only got a single fan. It's growing quite well. We've got some nice roots down into the pot, so I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to see some new growths before long. But I do like mottled-leaved fowls, and that's doing all right. I have got another one, the vinicolor version, and that isn't. It's got no roots at all, so I've put it into some moss, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed, but I don't actually hold out any great hopes for it. Right, back in a minute. Okay, the last couple now. Paphiopedilum Lordy, one of the smaller ones. Again, one of these mottled leaf ones. One I like a lot. It's very easy to grow. Quite pretty. I hope you'll be able to see the hairs and appendages and everything on that petal. We've got 2 flowers. There's another one opening there. One from two different fans. There are new fans growing already. So that's a plant that seems to be doing very well indeed, and those flowers will no doubt be out for a little while. This one, which is the one that you often see, if you see paths at all in shops and what have you, this is what is sometimes called the American hybrid. It's what I bought it as. A lot of people don't like them. Ed of Ed's Orchids really doesn't like these. He calls them Bulldog Pops and doesn't like them at all. But you could credit this in a lot of ways with being the orchid that persuaded me I could grow things other than Phalaenopsis, because I bought this at the Kew Orchid Festival 3 or 4 years ago now, and I just put it on a windowsill. It's on a southwest facing windowsill. It gets treated exactly the same way as my Phalaenopsis, watered about once a week, and I've ended up with this monster. And we've got 2 flowers that are open, and then we've got another one that here that's got a bud showing. So that will equal the number of flowers I've had from this in the time I've had it. Last year it only gave me 1, so I suppose it must go, it'll depend on how many fans it manages to grow in response. There's one at that end and there's one at the other end, so I might get 2 next year if I'm lucky. Only one of them might flower and then the other one might flower later. They do need a little bit of time, but you can tell I've had it a while. I've got 2 growing points, so the bit in the middle, because these things only flower once and die back, it's losing that middle. What I do with it, I don't know. I mean, do I disturb it? The pot is absolutely rammed full of roots, but it has been in there a little while. Doesn't smell bad, so you know it can probably stay there another few months at the very least, but it probably wants a good look at. So that then is technically the end of January, beginning of February, what's in flower in Keith's collection, or about to flower you might say. My Vanda has finished. Oh no, there isn't. There's one more left. There's one more left. My little baby, mustn't forget that. Dendrobium oligophyllum. Bought from Burnham's last August, and basically it hasn't stopped flowering since. I don't think it's going to be flowering for a lot longer, but that, you could say, yes, I've had it for a little while now. I received this around the end of July, so some would argue that these flowers are down to me. I would argue that it's down to its previous care, but it's looking okay. Hasn't got any new growth yet, but I'm really hoping that it's doing okay. It must be doing. It's flowering. There's no sign of the canes dying back. So fingers crossed, this will be here for a while yet. So thank you for watching. Hope it's not been too boring, and I'll see you soon. Bye.